Hello, I'm Rick O'Shea and I'm here in Dublin City, Ireland, home of the Dublin Literary Award. Every year, Dublin City Council honours one very special book and author with this most prestigious prize of €100,000. The winning book is chosen from a long list of library nominations from all over the world, which is distilled down to a shortlist by our expert panel of judges. Now in its 26th year, the award has been fully sponsored by Dublin City Council since 2015, and there's a lot of pride in the uniqueness of the prize and how the books are chosen by public libraries. This year, nominations came in from as far afield as Dunedin in New Zealand, Slemani in Iraq and Washington, D.C., with a list of 49 recommendations forming the long list back in January. Our shortlist of 6 was made public in March, and in about 5 minutes' time we'll be unveiling the winner. Let's remind ourselves of that shortlist. Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, nominated by libraries in Berlin, Germany and Waterford, Ireland. Lost Children Archive by Valeria Luiselli, nominated by Vila de Gràcia Library, Barcelona, Spain. A Paragon by Colin McCann, nominated by South Dublin Libraries, Ireland. Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor, translated by Sophie Hughes, nominated by libraries in Canada, Mexico and the USA. On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong, nominated by libraries in Norway, Sweden, Switzerland and the USA. And The Nickel Boys by Coulson Whitehead, nominated by libraries in Belgium and the USA. Dublin City Council provides library services all over the city, and today we're coming to you from one of its most treasured spaces, Kevin Street Library, which has been in existence for well over 100 years and has been beautifully renovated in recent times. Joining me here in the library are the Dublin City Council CEO, Owen Keegan, and City Librarian, Mairead Owens. Turning to you first, Owen, this is a very important award for Dublin, isn't it?
It is very, very important, and the City Council is delighted to be associated with the award. As you know, Dublin has the UNESCO City of Literature designation, and the award is part of our meeting our responsibilities under that designation. And it's also reaching out to the population of Dublin who have a huge interest in writers and indeed in literature, and sustaining that through our library network. So the award reinforces the interest in literature in the city and helps develop it.
In terms of this year, Mairead, and in terms of these books, this shortlist, it's been another unusual year again for the award, hasn't it? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's been a bit hectic for librarians here in Dublin, but also internationally, because we've had to do all of the work behind the scenes, digitally and online. But look, absolutely delighted with the shortlist, and a sincere thanks to colleagues all over the world who've supported the award on this occasion.
We talked about this maybe just beforehand, and about the whole idea that the shortlist can sometimes make you read a little bit outside of what might normally be your comfort zone.
Yeah, I'm always excited to see what actually comes through in the shortlist, because you're encouraged, I suppose, or persuaded or nudged a little bit to beyond your own boundaries as to what you're comfortable to pick up and read. So this year in particular, topics from racism to diversity to children crossing the Mexican border, learning about, I suppose, how other people live their lives and the challenges they face. So an amazing list of books.
And maybe, on just to come back to you, in terms of the judges as well, they do an immense amount of work for this.
They do absolutely Trojan work, and on behalf of the City Council, I'd like to acknowledge the work of Professor Chris Morash and his fellow jury members for the work they put in this year.
Well, let's end the suspense for everyone, as we do every year, whether in person or remotely. We call on the Lord Mayor of Dublin as the award's patron to announce the winner. And here she is, from the Mansion House, Lord Mayor Hazel Chew.
Thank you, Rick, and greetings to everyone from the Mansion House on Dublin's Dawson Street. I am proud to be the patron of the Dublin Literary Award, especially in this year, where partnership and the sharing of stories from all over the world are more important than ever. I can now tell you that the winner of the 2021 Dublin Literary Award is Lost Children Archive, Valeria Luiselli. What an amazing choice and wonderful news for this author. I'd like to extend my warmest congratulations to her. Let's go straight to New York City, where Consul General Kieran Madden is waiting to introduce us to Valeria.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm delighted to welcome you to the Consulate here in New York. We'd love to be with you in Dublin on this special day, but we're very happy to be able to share a little of New York with you instead. I want to thank Dublin City Council for making this important award possible, and the Consulate is proud to play a small part in this year's presentation. It's fantastic for the two cities to come together in this way and to feel connected, now more than ever, with the challenges we face. Those connections run deep. New York is a city defined and shaped by immigration. In the early 1860s, there were more Irish-born people living here than in Dublin, and the links have been strong ever since. Today's winning novel, among much else, looks at some of the most difficult aspects of immigration into the United States today. Colm Tóibín is one of Ireland's most gifted writers. He is the author of a book about an Irish immigrant in New York, and he is a previous winner of the Dublin Literary Award. He joins us today and will have the honour of presenting the 2021 award to Valeria Luiselli. Colm.
Lost Children Archive by Valeria Luiselli is at one level a road novel, the story of a journey through America, in a time when the border with Mexico has become a highly contested zone, a time when children are being deported from the United States, a time when children are being separated from their parents, when children are lost and cannot be traced. The novel is also a close study of the two children in the back of the car, a 10-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl, their responses and perceptions, their complex minds and emotions, their ability to listen and notice. Both parents are interested in sound, what it does, what an archive of sound might do. The car, as the web of relationships intensifies, as the children become closer and the parents further apart, as the stories unfold, is its own archive, as the parents move into territory both unknown and strangely imagined, fully charted and utterly mysterious. They use a map rather than a GPS. The names of the towns they drive through or spend a night in become a sort of litany, an archive of lostness, as much as seems in decay or half ruined. Lost Children Archive is passionately engaged with the idea of story and text. No story here is simple or single. Each of the four hears a story in a different way. Fragments of earlier stories, texts about journeys and quests and migrants, pepper the novel in a way which seems organic and necessary. Valeria Luiselli combines a sensitive and sharp way of seeing character and the workings of the mind with a restless intelligence and a sense of narrative command that is remarkable. Lost Children Archive tells an old story, the one that Cervantes told, and Jack Kerouac and Joseph Conrad and Cormac McCarthy, the story of what happens to the human spirit on the road, how a long journey puts in jeopardy what was stable and agreed upon. In a way that is both knowing and natural, Valeria Luiselli takes this way of letting stories unfold and adds to it a narrative energy so that each part of the journey is filled with the character's complex response to life, animated and kept in check by the style of the sentences. She adds also a moral seriousness. Lost Children Archive is a dramatization of not just a family on the road, but the world they are driving through, not just the landscape and the feel of things, but the pressing, burning politics and also the history, the clues left behind, the archive and its lost content. Luiselli has written a novel in which stories spiral. She has rendered her characters with astonishing grace and insight, and through them she has drawn a picture of what they have been driving towards throughout the book, the contested place, where the old rules do not apply, for which a new form of archive is needed. I have great pleasure in presenting this year's Dublin Literary Award to Valeria Luiselli. So congratulations, and this is us.
First of all, I want to acknowledge my fellow writers, also finalists for this prize. Bernardina Evaristo, Colin McCann, Ocean Wong, my dear Colson Whitehead, and my compatriota Fernanda Melchor. And I also want to thank the Consul General of Ireland in New York, Kieran Madden, for hosting this unusual ceremony, the Dublin City Council and its head, Owen Keegan, Lord Mayor of Dublin, Hazel Chu, patron of this award, Dublin City Libraries, and the library Biblioteca Vila de Gràcia in Spain who nominated Lost Children Archive. Muchas gracias. Then the judges, of course, who always do such hard work and read so many books, Jan Carson, Enda Wiley, Martin Vega, David Karashima, Rita Sacker, and Christopher Marash. I read an article the other day, felt really like a way too long advertisement, about a program that writes fiction. You feed it a few lines, tell it the genre, science fiction, horror, and it produces the rest. And it's not so bad at it. It writes in full grammatical sentences, comes up with metaphors and analogies, emulates a writer's particular style, and so on. The author of the article, who seemed to me a little too thrilled about this diabolical toy from the depths of Silicon Valley, says at some point in the article that this tool was going to be the salvation for writers who dislike writing, which, according to him, is nearly all writers. I want to say to this writer, you're wrong. And to this robot, I don't really want to say anything because robots are robots. Fiction is one of the most pleasurable human activities. It's one of the most difficult, yes, but when it's driven by a deep desire, it is also one of the most pleasurable. Fiction is also something quite like a bodily intuition or an embodied knowledge, something we feel when our minds are able to pierce through the mesh of the present and imagine someplace, something other. At times, when we try to peer into that other place, what we see is too painful, shocking, or simply abysmal. But we have to look at it anyway and make something of it, make something with it. The word fiction, in fact, comes from fingere, which means to shape or form, and originally to mold something out of clay. Fingere implies the action of making rather than inventing. It's not inventing something that's not true. It's giving shape to what was already there. Fiction requires a combination of insight, hindsight, and foresight. In other words, it requires experience. Fiction is a way of giving shape to experience. Lost Children Archive is a novel about the depths of childhood solitude, about children's boundless imagination, the fragile intensity of familial ties, about tensions between history and fiction, and the complex intersections of political circumstances and personal lives. But more than anything, Lost Children Archive is a novel about the process of making stories, of threading voices and ideas together in an attempt to better understand the world around us. In other words, it is a novel about writing fiction. It begins with two parents telling stories, their children physically but also metaphorically riding in the backseat of the family car, but then shifts to the children's narrative, to them becoming the voices that tell us the story of the fucked up, but sometimes blindingly stunning world that we're always fictioning, as in always shaping and reshaping. In this past year of isolation and doubt and so much fear, my daughter, my niece, and I have been reading out loud to each other for company, for a better sense of togetherness maybe, beyond cooking and eating meals and cleaning the house together. We read to each other the way one seeks company around a fireplace, to be alone together. Often, we play a game. We sit in front of the bookshelves, and one of us chooses a book with our eyes closed, and then we read out loud from it, sometimes just a few lines, sometimes entire chapters. We've been reading Audre Lorde, Marguerite Duras, James Joyce, and even a vampire series, the title of which I will never confess. In any case, I can say, without a hint of doubt, that without books, we would not have made it through these months. If our spirits have found renewal, if we have found strength to carry on, if we have maintained a sense of enthusiasm for life, It's thanks to the worlds that books have given us. Each time, we found solace in the companions that live in our bookshelves. Escovedo wrote, retirado en la paz de estos desiertos, con pocos pero doctos libros juntos, vivo en conversación con los difuntos y escucho con mis ojos a los muertos. Withdrawn into the peace of these deserts, along with some books, few but wise, I live in conversation with the deceased and listen to the dead with my eyes. Recently, for a project I'm working on, I interviewed some women in my family about what they feared most. What are you afraid of? I asked. My mother said, perder claridad, to lose clarity. My daughter said, I'm afraid of being left alone. My younger niece said, expectations. My older niece said, I'm afraid of my relationship failing, losing love. And what are you afraid of, Mama? My daughter then asked me. What am I afraid of? I'm afraid, like any adult, of many things. Of loss, of not being able to provide for those who depend on me. Afraid of political violence, of climate change, afraid of Silicon Valley. But I'm particularly afraid of our spirits becoming stagnant, of not having a narrative to believe in, of not having a common space in which to listen to each other and understand each other more deeply. I am afraid, in other words, of a world without fiction, a world in which we do not share a collective space of imagination. And so I am committed to that, to devoting my life to the improbable art of making fiction. Thank you.
That was really wonderful to be able to hear from Valeria. Inspiring words from a worthy winner. I hope that you are as delighted by this news as I am. Make sure to get a copy of the winning title, Lost Children Archive, from your local Dublin City Library or your nearest public library in whatever part of the world, wherever you are. There's plenty more to come from our winner, as she will be taking part in a very special online interview event as part of International Literature Festival Dublin on May 30th. Make sure you don't miss that. You can find out about all of the festival events on their website, ilfdublin.ie. It's time for me to say goodbye from Kevin Street Library here in Dublin. Until next time, goodbye and keep reading.